So the first thing I do when you check in is to, on that slider, say if you're feeling okay. And one constant worry of mine is that whatever I'm doing now is not going to work out, it's going to fail. Are you going to go back on traditional radio, which is just like, hi. So if you listen to my podcast, I'm sure you've heard me say more than once how addicted to apps I am. I'm constantly looking for apps that are going to help me do things more efficiently. Another bunch of apps that I love are mental wellness apps. So apps that help me with my anxiety or just like building routines in my day, which is really good for mental wellness. So in this video, I'm going to share 3 apps that are my go-to mental wellness apps. So the first app that I love is Mindshift. I've been using it for a year plus now, and it helps me with my anxiety. So once you check into the app, what I love is that I can literally do daily check-ins and just then have a tracker or record of how I'm doing. So even when I go to therapy, I can be able to say, hey, there was a spike here and there, and then probably see what triggered those spikes. So the first thing I do when you check in is to, on that slider, say if you're feeling okay, bad, awful, or whatever. So after, using the slider to decide whether you're doing okay, good, great, awful, bad, what I do is then rate my anxiety out of 10. And then the next thing is to describe exactly what you're worried about or what you're feeling. So this particular check-in was while I was working on a project. I'm actually still working on it, and the project requires me to interact with quite a few survivors of sexual violence. And the first interaction really just triggered an emotional breakdown. That was a very hard day, very, very hard day. I think I downplayed what that trigger would bring up for me. And I think I also then started worrying that I'm not going to be able to be part of this project to the best of my ability. I started feeling like I was going to let down the client and let down the women who, were part of this program. It was a lot. It was a lot. So I remember that day. I didn't open my apps that day, but I did talk to my therapist the next day and the day after that. So after you write what's going on with you, you actually then put in some symptoms, because I don't know about you, but for me, my anxiety does come with a lot of physical symptoms. So the symptoms can be rapid breathing, feeling like there's a lump in my throat, like anticipating something is going to happen, and most of the time it's like I'm feeling very strongly that something bad is gonna happen. So after you have keyed in all of this for your check-in, you submit it, and the good thing is that then the app kind of like keeps all of those check-ins for you, so you can kind of like track, is my anxiety getting worse, or does it get worse at particular moments, and then you can go back and think what was happening at those particular moments. So I try to check in as often as I can, even when I'm not doing bad. Like I'll check in and just be like, oh, this is so great, I put out a really dope podcast episode, or blah blah blah. But yeah, so I try to check in as often as possible. So my favorite part of this app is the thought journal, because it's been most efficient when it comes to dealing with my anxiety. It helps me write down all of these thoughts that in my mind I don't have the time while I'm in that cycle of oh my god, this shit is not going to work out. I don't have time to stop and pick out the fallacies in the statements that I'm making or the thoughts that I'm having. So when I write it down, I can be like, hey, how did you draw this conclusion? I make sense, see possible, So you have to write down the thoughts. And one constant worry of mine is that whatever I'm doing now is not going to work out, it's going to fail, and then I don't have a plan B. I really don't have a plan B. And so that worries me. And the weird bit is that it worries me even though what I'm doing is proving to be successful. Even though I'm investing in like learning the skills that I'll need to make sure it's successful, I'm investing in the equipment, investing in like whatever I need to do to make it work. Even though I'm doing all of that, I'm still like, oh crap, this is not gonna work. It's not gonna work. It's going to fail. And then what are you gonna do, right? Are you going to go back and like go back on traditional radio, which is just like, even to think about it is so horrifying to me. It's like, anyway, so this has become a therapy session. Back to the app. And then I go through the thinking traps that I've kind of like gotten into while writing down these statements, right? So am I foretelling the future? How have I decided that this thing is going to fail? Did I go into the future, 10 years into the future, and see, oh crap, nobody likes podcasts, your media business has collapsed, and all of those things, you know what I mean? So fortune telling, I found whenever I do this exercise, I'm constantly falling into that thinking trap. So once you have selected the thinking traps that you have become a victim of, you then go through each of them, understanding what does this, how fortune telling, what is that, what is overgeneralizing, all the ones that you have selected based on what you wrote down, and then you restructure your sentences. So it's normal, I think, to fear failure, especially when you're creating a project for yourself or you're building a business for yourself, blah blah blah. But then what can you do to ensure that the failure, the risk of failure is reduced? The second app that I use is Fabulous. No, that is the name of the app. And I use it to build routines because my therapist is constantly telling me how important like routines are for mental wellness. And then for us, what it's helped us figure out is when something is wrong. So for example, making my bed is a really important part of my routine. And the days when I don't make it, I genuinely am like, something has changed in this routine. Why am I sluggish and stuff like that? So when the routine changes or I lapse out of certain things in the routine, especially for like consecutive days, that's the word, then I know, ooh, something is not right, winter is coming. No, but seriously. And so I use Fabulous to build routines. It can be used for much more. I know Fabulous has like a community of users who do challenges together and stuff like that. But my main use for this one is just to build routines. I've only done one challenge, which was a letting go challenge. I think it was 14 days. Yeah, 14 days. So every morning for that challenge, I had to say this statement that was geared towards me being intentional about letting go of a particular thing that I was holding on to and that was like dragging me down. I'm trying to be as vague as possible. But you get what I mean. I really enjoyed that challenge, and what I like about Fabulous is how it like cheers you on. So when you do it for like 3 consecutive days, it's like, hey, let's go for 5 days. Then you do 5 days and it's like, hey, let's go for 10. The third app I just actually downloaded after World Mental Health Day because an article that I was reading about spoke about Shine, and it spoke about it being created by 2 women, women of color. So I was just like, okay, obviously I haven't been using it for too long, but the one thing that I've come to love is these prompts and messages that it sends me. And they always come at like the perfect timing. It sends me one in the morning and in the evening. Oh my God, it's like they're with you during the day. They also have like short mini audio messages through podcasts. I don't know whether to call it a podcast, but it's like short messages from certain people who are working in the mental wellness space, be it like yogis or actual psychologists, just speaking on different topics. And the topics can be about knowledge of self, building your self-esteem. I'm not sure I like that bit of the app because maybe it's me who doesn't know how to use it well, but when I log in, the topics are very random and some of them might not be what I'm looking for on that date. But I know if you upgrade to premium, you can have more control over the content you get access to, which I have not done because I'm a cheapskate. On this app, you can also do check-ins. It's not like Mindshift, because Mindshift was designed specifically to help with anxiety. So Mindshift is very, I don't know, almost, it's medical based. Is that a word? But you get what I mean. So like for Shine, when you do your check-ins, if you're still on the free side of life, not premium yet, you do check-ins based on like, what are you grateful for, which I think is a very important exercise as well. End of the day, just kind of like check in and be like, what am I grateful for today? Or maybe at the beginning of your day. So you write down what you're grateful for, and then you can also say what you're going to do that day that will be for you, something that's going to bring you joy. So for me, that's always writing poetry. Any day that I can spare even an hour to 2 writing poetry is a fantastic day for me. So those are the apps that I rely on a day-to-day when it comes to mental wellness, especially the first 2. Shine obviously is like a new app. As my neighbor turned on their water pump for like the 5th time this morning. Kwani, are you guys using water? Those are the 3 apps that I use when it comes to mental wellness. Obviously the first 2 I use much more. I've just gotten on Shine, so I'm gonna see how it goes. There is one other app that I tried and it ended really badly. A very close friend of mine told me to try out this app called Replica. So you can build this robot, aka Replica, to be chatting with about just, you know, like the same things. What are you grateful for? Blah, 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 blah. But it's so weird. It's just so weird because, oh my God, that app, I think I uninstalled it after a week because I was like, this is some weird shit. Cause the Replica, first you build it, you decide how its hair is gonna be and blah, blah, blah. And then it has a diary, like, so think like the thought journal, right? So it has a diary that it's writing about interacting with this human, yani you. It's so weird. It's so weird. And then at a point, like, obviously I was on the freebie side of things, which is like my MO with apps. But there's a point where if you upgrade, you can be able to flirt with the Replica. And I was like, but this is not what I'm here for. Like, I even slowed down. After Replica, I think Shine is the only new app I've tried, because I was like, you know what? I have my Mindshift, I have Fabulous. What else do I need? So sometimes trying out these apps works, sometimes it ends horribly. Aki Replica. Anyway, do let me know which mental wellness apps you use in the comments.